Conversation with the principal of the Indiana Junior High, Michael Minnick, brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. And he's on the line with us right now. I'm assuming from home, correct?
That's not correct, actually. I'm in a pretty vacated school building right now, and I've been going into my office, spot duty in the office, and splitting time between here and the home for sure. But I'm presently in the school.
You're bunkered down, huh?
I am.
All right. So within the school on a given day, how many other administrators or teachers are there?
Most days there's as few as one other person in the building. Some days there are no other individuals in the building. But you happen to catch us on a day where we are beginning to exercise the plan to allow teachers to schedule time to come in and clear out their rooms so that a summer cleaning regimen can take place here in a few weeks, beginning in a couple of weeks. So teachers are starting to come in. We've also started to do locker cleanouts with the abrupt closure that happened over 2 months ago. Many students, although we advise them to take materials home for their school work, they left a lot of personal belongings behind. So we've been working to create a plan to get those personal belongings returned to our students and their families in a responsible and safe manner. And if I could, at some point this morning, I'd like to talk about that plan, if that's okay with you, Mr. Marino.
Well, let's do that right now. I would imagine it's pretty regimented.
It is. With all the social distancing requirements and guidelines that are put into place, we had to really be conscientious of removing items and bagging them and labeling them. So the plan is as follows. Students are going to, or their families, be asked to pick up their items on the same day that we are asking them to return items that belong to the school. So items that are being returned to the school include library books, textbooks, calculators, things of that nature. And we are scheduling June 1st and 2nd as the first days. So if your family's name begins with the letter A or through the alphabet M, that would be June 1st. They would come to door number 9, which is the gym entrance of the junior high school. So June 1st, students whose last name begins with A through M, they would come to return items that belong to the school. June 2nd, students whose last name begins with N through Z would come, the same plan, they come to door number 9. And then June 3rd is sort of a catch-all day. If you couldn't make the day that we scheduled based on your last name, June 3rd is sort of a catch-all day. But the big items that I wanted to share with you and your listeners is that items are being returned to the school on the same day, and they're being dropped off at door number 9. And those items have been gathered in lockers and placed in a bag and labeled with the following information: the student's name and the receiving teacher's name. So of those items that are being returned, school vehicles will have to move to door number 8 to pick up their items. And they're going to need to know a few things and place some information, preferably on their dashboard if they could, so that the teacher or paraprofessional that is helping us do this distribution can look at the windshield, the dash that is, and see the student's name, the student homeroom number, and the student's grade on a piece of paper. So parents, again, would be driving up to door number 9 to drop off the goods that are coming back to the school, pull ahead to door number 8 to pick up the items that were in their child's locker. And so that we can maintain social distancing, we're going to place those items that are identified on the dashboard in the proper car. So if a parent has their student's name, the student's homeroom number, and their grade, that'll help us identify what bag to grab and hand it over to them so that we don't have to get out of the car and interact and maintain a safe distance. So,
and they can just pop the trunk or have the back door open.
That's exactly the plan. So our hope is that as they pull up, they'll drop off the things that the school needs to take accounting of. and begin organizing for next school year, and then they pull ahead, and very much like an assembly line process that you see in other contexts, whether it's our local food banks or other types of services that are being provided in this fashion. You pull up, pop your hood, and we'll be able to see by the sign on the dashboard which bag, which students' belongings we're returning. And we just place it in the trunk, and they pull forward. So our hope is that this runs smoothly, and that we get everything back in a safe and timely manner to our families.
Well, we'll get that information out again as that date approaches. But obviously, when you get all this stuff back from students who have taken it home, that material is all going to have to be disinfected too.
For sure, we are placing the people who have been cleaning out the lockers have been taking extra precaution when they're handling those materials, and they're placing them right into plastic bags. And they're clear bags so that you can see the contents inside. And with the labels on the outside, our hope is that it's easier to identify not only the goods but the owner of the goods. And then I would highly advise that once those items are brought into the home, they're disinfected either through laundry or spraying and whatever measures that are reasonably accessible to a family.
All right. So then we move into the summer months, and we've talked before about this, but it's good to get the reminder again. Students will be, over the summer, not expected to just kick back and relax like maybe they did in previous years, but you'd like to keep them engaged in education, and obviously you've got scheduling. You've got orientation for kids coming into the junior high, and then those other kids who are leaving the junior high going senior high, they've got some orientation too. How is the district handling that?
Well, the high school typically handles an orientation for their incoming ninth graders. The junior high handles the orientation for incoming sixth graders. We have a program right at the beginning of our in-service days at the start of every school year. We call it the sneak peek. And the sneak peek is essentially the day before the first official day of school. And kids come into the school. We welcome them. We introduce them to the sixth grade team of teachers. We go over some essential information, such as where the homeroom is located, where lockers are located, and just some essential information to help disarm the anxiety of that first day of school. This is probably going to have a different look, although it's yet to be determined, based on what the first day of school looks like next year and whether or not a sneak peek is something that we will be doing in August as we typically do, or if we'll be doing it a little later in the fall. We're still waiting for guidance from the Pennsylvania Department of Education on that matter. But in the meantime, we will be doing a virtual tour where, using our YouTube channel, we'll introduce our incoming students to their team. We'll do a quick virtual tour of the school so that they could at least put their eyes on what some of the important areas like the cafeteria, the entrances, and we'll just do a basic show of the inside of the building, and in hopes of maintaining engagement. That will probably come earlier in the summer as we put that together. And as the fall approaches, hopefully we'll have more clarity on what a return to school will look like next year, and be able to plan accordingly a responsible and safe orientation for our incoming sixth graders. The big thing is we want kids to feel really excited about coming back to school, and especially for those ones that are new to the junior high, we want to take an extra step in welcoming them. So it probably will be a combination of both virtual and face-to-face orientations, but the time and exact method of doing so is still yet to be determined. But as you know, information changes. It seems like from day to day. Yeah. So we're busy working and planning contingencies for either scenario.
I'm guessing, and you can tell me if I'm wrong about this or not, but it's just my opinion, that the transition from the elementary schools to the junior high is a much bigger deal to those kids than from junior high to senior high, simply because they've not experienced this type of an educational format in the elementary grades that they're going to experience now?
I think that's fair to say. Developmentally, kids that are in the middle school years, they're it seems cliche to say when they're in that middle range, but they're still caught between being an elementary student that has that desire to please their teacher and just follow everything to the T that is directed of them from an elementary setting. Things like line leaders and elementary type of protocols are released. They're surrendered. They come to the junior high, and suddenly they're expected to be young secondary school students, and they have a lot more independence. So that step is a big step for many of them. They still have that desire to be pleasing, and the approval of the teacher is still important. But as they progress through the junior high, and some of them, they all hit it at different times. Some of them are a little bit ahead of the curve and ready to be independent, wanting that independence, and the need to communicate just basic norms and values within the school community, as well as the importance of opportunities to model independence and mature, responsible community membership at the school is they're given opportunities to do that, and it is a big leap because they go from that setting where it's the oversight is a little bit more structured in terms of nurturing and coddling, and justifiably so. But at some point they have to take that step to say, I don't need a line leader to get me to class, and that brings another aspect of the jump too. The structure of the day is entirely different. They go from having 2 to 3 teachers in an elementary setting to 9 or 10 teachers in a secondary setting, and they're changing periods and rooms every 40 minutes. That in itself is a huge step for many kids, and which is why the lockers are such a big deal at the start of the year. Kids are panicky about, am I going to be able to find my locker, get into my locker? And therein lies some of the sweetness of that elementary child worrying about things that are really low fruit, but it stresses them out. So we try to nurture them in that way and give them extra time as they transition into this setting. And before you know it, they look like seasoned pros. But those initial couple of weeks are scary for a lot of our incoming 6th graders.
Yeah, for a lot of them, they're seasoned pros after day one. For others, it might take a little bit more time. It's a fascinating subject to look into, and you watch it play out at the junior high every single year. And I know that this year is going to be a little bit different for a lot of kids, so it'll be interesting to watch how that all unfolds. Well, I don't know that we'll get to talk with you more this summer or not, but I want to thank you for spending some time with us here today. It's been fun.
It's always a pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and just promote the good work that's happening within our school. We have such a wonderful team at the junior high, and the collaboration among the schools and the leadership and guidance throughout this. There's some uncertainty to these times, but I always say too that within these days there are many opportunities too to strengthen and get better at what we're doing. So this opportunity to communicate some of those opportunities is appreciated, and I'm always agreeable to come on and talk about the fun stuff that's happening at the junior high school. So thank you too.
Terrific stuff. We will catch up with you at some point over the summer and find out how it's going. Appreciate your time today.
Likewise. Thanks for the opportunity. Make it a great day.
Have a great day, too. It's the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, AM 1160 and 101.1 FM. 101.1 FM. 101.